Now we'll go into the details of relational model. Before going to the model, we have to first understand what are the terms we are going to talk about while discussing relational model. Like while discussing about features, I talked about table, row, column, attribute. So these needs to be first understood. So first let us understand what is a table. When we talked about table, or when we say that it's a table I have shown you in, if you remember in MS Word, that insert table, automatically some columns we had set it, some rows we had set it, and a table was created. Now same thing we have to, this is not an application, so we have to do it. Now first let us understand what is a table. A database is a collection of related tables. These tables are also called relations. So table is actually a combination of rows and columns. Number of columns and number of rows together makes a table. So whenever we say that tables are known as relations, that means databases that support the concept of relations are known as relational database. So what I say again, let me repeat. Database that support the concept of relations are called relational databases. Each table is depicted in a tabular format, which consists of rows and columns. Table format means a fixed number of rows, n number of rows will be there, n number of columns will be there. Now we have to decide how many rows we need to enter the records, how many columns are required to enter the fields. That is how we set the number for rows and columns. Each row represents an entity or an object. Columns are fields of the record, and these fields actually are the qualities of the entity. Qualities means attributes. In technical terms, in DBMS language terms, we say qualities as attributes of an entity. Rows are also known as tuples. T-U-P-L-E-S, tuples. So in a word we say tuple consists of n number of tuples, means so many rows it consists of. Now what are entities? Entities, I told you, anything which has physical existence is called an entity. We need to first identify the entity or the subject areas for which information needs to be stored or maintained. These areas will become tables. Now suppose if I say student personal file. Student personal file, student is an entity. Personal file means it contains details of personal entity like name, roll number, address, phone number, date of birth. These are the personal details. If I say student marks file, that is also related to a student, same student, but the field name will be roll number, marks 1, marks 2, marks 3, or subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. So for a particular student we can access through the help of the common field called roll number, and the entity here is student. Now subject areas will become tables. Now entities are of two types, one that has a physical existence and the other that has a conceptual existence. Now the first one, physical existence, can be means a person, house, employee, car, company, etc. Now suppose in a college database, if we talk about, a table student can have roll number, name, course, class teacher, marks, address, phone number, etc. Now what are attributes? These just now what I have spent or which I have said for a student, these are the fields. Those fields will be known as a attribute. Now let's talk in terms of definition. Any entity that is used to describe certain properties are known as attributes, or in short we can say quality of an entity is known to be an attribute. That means an attribute is a property of the entity. For example, attributes of a student are name, roll number, course. An attribute is a property of that entity. So course, marks, etc. These are all attributes of the student entity. Similarly, if it's an employee entity, it could be name, employee ID, department, designation, salary, etc. Now, entity is a uniquely identifiable object, whereas attribute on the other hand is an identified element within an entity. That means entity is about a physical existence or object. It could be book, fees, course, program, car, bike, house. These are all entities. Means anything which you can talk about. It doesn't mean that they have to be physical in nature, means you can hold them or touch them. Anything which has existence is known as an entity, and any qualities related to that entity is known as an attribute. Now, how we access them? There is a term called keys, K-E-Y-S, keys. Like we have key to open a door, key to open an almirah. Similarly, that is called keys, that is known as a key. So here also such sort of keys are there. While designing a table, we need some method to uniquely identify a particular record. For that purpose or that reason, we use a key. For example, suppose in your class, each student has a unique roll number. That means roll number is never duplicate. Two names might be present in a class which is same. 2 names, 5 names. Like suppose if I say Ria, or if I say Shaheen, 2 Shaheens are there, but their roll numbers are not same, they are different. So roll number is unique. So even if students have the same name, they will have different roll numbers. Similarly, when designing a table student, the roll number can be used as a key. Now what key is this? That we'll just discuss later on. This key will be used to search a record from a large number of records efficiently in much lesser time. Now there are various types of keys which we'll be talking about: candidate key, primary key, alternate key, composite key, and most importantly, foreign key. Now each of these I'll be explaining you one by one. First, now you understood what is the meaning of key. In DBMS, we also have a concept of key, means by which you access the records, you access the table via the key. Now first one, candidate key. What is a candidate key? A key that is eligible to become the primary key. For example, in a student table with attributes like roll number, name, phone number, course, marks, address, one possible candidate key is the roll number, and the second can be a combination of name and phone number together. See, name and phone number cannot be duplicate. Name could be duplicate. So name and phone number together can also be a primary key. Roll number, we have already understood that it is a primary key because it is unique. Therefore, we can say that a candidate key is an attribute or a combination of attributes that uniquely identifies an entity. Every table must have at least one candidate key, although there could be some more. Suppose if I say a student table, university registration number, roll number. Now registration number is also unique, roll number is also unique. Either of them can be satisfied to become a primary key, but both of them together cannot be a primary key. So what we say, a candidate key is a column or combination of columns that satisfies all requirements of a primary key and therefore has the potential to become a primary key. Means it can be upgraded to be known as a primary key. So what is a primary key? A primary key is an attribute or a combination of attributes that allows each record to be identified uniquely. For example, again if I take the entity student table will have attribute roll number, university enrollment number, name, course, mark, just what I said earlier, just few sentences back. Then roll number or university roll number, enrollment number can be made primary key. Neither of them but not both can be used as a primary key, as one of them satisfied the purpose. Two together cannot be a primary key. We can choose any one to be a primary key, not both together. Just now I said about registration number and roll number. So either you make registration number to be a primary key or the roll number to be primary key. Both are unique, but both together cannot form a primary key. composite key can be together, means like name and phone number together can be a primary key, but in the case of student we usually denote the primary key to be roll number. Now alternate key. What is alternate key? If a table has more than one candidate key, then one of them chosen is the primary key and all other candidate keys are called alternate keys of the table. So here when we have two primary keys or two candidate keys like university enrollment number and roll number, then if we are choosing roll number to be a primary key, the alternate key will be university enrollment number or the registration number, whichever you say. This means that primary key is also a candidate key and the remainder, if any are present, are called as alternate keys. So I hope you understood. So if I choose roll number as the primary key, I am again repeating, then university enrollment number and the combination of name plus phone number are the alternate keys. So all of them are separately, individually can be a primary key, but at the same point of time all three cannot be together meant to be a primary key. Any one of them you can choose as a primary key. So what is a composite key now? Composite key is actually made up of, just now when we talk about name and phone number, there's two combination of attributes together which makes a primary key. So in that case that is called a composite key. It is a key made of two or more attributes within a table to uniquely identify a record. Like name address cannot be a primary composite key because that does not uniquely identify the record. So name, phone number, it's unique. That means two attributes formed together. So that can be considered to be a composite key. So the combination of name, phone number will form a composite key. So it is always recommended that we choose a very simple key as a primary key rather than choosing a composite key. So if you have the option of choosing a simple key like roll number, no composition is there. So please choose that as the primary key instead of choosing any other composite key to be a primary key. Now the last type of key which we will discuss, this has many advantages also, that is foreign key. Now what is a foreign key? A foreign key is an attribute of a table that matches the primary key of another table. Now suppose just previously I mentioned about two tables, one primary table having roll number, name, address, phone number, another table has roll number, course, year. In this case the first table which I talked about, that is the main table, and there the primary key is roll number. Then in the second table there is also roll number, which is a foreign key to that table. Why? Because that is also present in the primary table. So that is what I mean by this sentence. A foreign key is an attribute of a table that matches the primary key of another table. So here in the second table where roll number, course and year is there, this particular field roll number is matching with the main table. So here it is known as the foreign key. Now what is the advantage of foreign key? Foreign keys are used to restrict the domain of attributes in the referencing relation, and one or more records in the referencing relation can have the same value of the foreign key attribute. That means with the help of foreign keys we can restrict the area of that. Like suppose if I want to enter any roll number in the second table, if that is not present in the main table, primary table of roll number, name, address and phone number, if there it doesn't exist, we cannot enter a new roll number into the secondary table, because the concept of foreign key is only that key can be present which matches with the previous table, that will be the main table or the primary table, so that we can refer it. So that is how we can say we can restrict the domain of the attributes in the referencing relation, and one or more records in the referencing relation can have the same value for the foreign key attribute. Now let's take another example. In a student table, course ID is the foreign key and course ID is the primary key of the course table details. The student table can have limited values, but in that case what happens, those specified in course details, it will have limited value. Limited value means if that is not present here, it cannot present the secondary table. Therefore, they are restricting the domain of attributes. Although there is a unique course ID in the course details table, but in the student table, that is the referencing table, the course ID may have same values. So, foreign keys do not have unique value in the referencing table. So, we can say the primary keys are used to define the relationships among the tables. When primary key of one table is used as an attribute in another table, it will become a foreign key in the other table. Moreover, a table can have more than one foreign key. Now let's come to a term called integrity, or rather we should put it this way, referential integrity. Very, very important. It is quite related to the foreign key concept. Now what is referential integrity? Foreign keys will support the concept of referential integrity that ensures that relationships between tables remain consistent. When one table has a foreign key, the concept of referential integrity states the following. Foreign keys support the concept, I repeat, concept of referential integrity that ensures that relationships between tables remain consistent, means same. When one table has a foreign key, the concept of referential integrity states the few things which I will speak now. First point. A record in a table with a foreign key cannot be added until there is a corresponding record in the linked table. So we just cannot, as because it restricts the domain, that means we just cannot keep on adding if it is not present in the main table. This means that if there is no course MCA with course ID 4 in a course details table, then no student in the student table can have course ID as 4. Simple. Next is deletion problem. A record in a table with a foreign key is deleted if the foreign key, that is, the primary key of the other table, is deleted. This means if a particular course is deleted from a course details table, then what will happen? All rows in the student table with the same course ID will be also getting deleted. This is called cascading delete. Now thirdly, about updation problem. A record in a table with a foreign key is updated if the foreign key, that is, the primary key of the other table, is changed. This means that if some particular course ID is updated to some other course, like suppose example if I say CS101 is updated to CS102 in the course details tables, what will happen? All rows in the student table with same course ID will also get updated. So this property is called cascading update. So these are the features. If a foreign key is there, we can restrict this addition anomaly, updation and deletion problem. So until unless you delete in the main table, it will not get deleted in the foreign key. In the secondary table you can delete, but it will not get deleted from the main table. So similarly, if you have to update or add, you have to update in the main table that particular course, then only it will get, you will be allowed to update in the secondary table. Now let's come to the term data dictionary. What do you mean by data dictionary? This we have discussed earlier also in the first class, as far as I remember. First of all, dictionary is a place where all data or all words are stored, where you can find out the meanings of such words. Data dictionary is also similarly like that. It is a main component of database as it stores the metadata. Now what is metadata? We have discussed this also. It is data about data. Since it contains description of all the data stored in the database, it can be shared by several applications. Although a data dictionary is a crucial component, it is still invisible to the users, and what happens? It can be manipulated only by the database administrator. Hiding data dictionary from users will help that its contents are not destroyed, neither modified nor accessed by users with malicious intentions. Now let's discuss about the structure of the data dictionary, what it stores. It stores the structure of the data, and certain information about the data are stored in the data dictionary. What are they? Names of the tables. What are the attributes in that table? Type of attributes. Type of attributes, suppose name. Data type is text, so that is called type of attribute. If it's roll number, I store it as a number format, so that is a type of attribute. Length of each field in the table means how much data I can store in that particular field. Length of each field. Size 30, size 50, what is its size? Next, domain of attributes, like date of birth should be between 1920 to 2020. So this is the range of date of birth which I can store. That is what I am fixing it. Number of records in the table. What are the primary key of the table? Any foreign key is there or not? That should be mentioned. Access rights, specifying who can use the database. Source of data in the table. Then not only this, application programs that can use the data, so that when the data is entered, the list of application programs that can be affected will be generated quite easily. So these are all types of data, or these are the things we store in a data dictionary. Now data dictionary can be of two types. One is called the active data dictionary, and another one is called the passive data dictionary. While an active data dictionary is automatically updated as changes occur in the database, a passive data dictionary, on the other hand, must be manually updated. Very true. So what can you draw from this conclusion? What could be the uses of data dictionary? There could be plenty of uses, like the uses of ordinary English dictionary. Similarly, from this data dictionary, whatever I have told, you can gather that it is used by database designers, users, administrators, so that they can get useful information about the data. Not only that, it contains information about hardware as well as software. Thirdly, it maintains all the documentation on database design process. It contains information about data ownership, means who can access which data, that is data ownership. It stores information about relationships that exist among data. Next, database administrators, they use the data dictionary to control and maintain large databases. It will be very easy to just refer to the data dictionary the terms used in the database, so that it becomes very easy for the normal users or the administrators to figure it out which term is used for what purpose. It becomes very easy then, easy to understand, easy to develop, easy to maintain, all this. Database programmers use the data dictionary to develop programs and queries. They can also write procedures to manipulate data. It is used to maintain data integrity and accuracy. Why? Because suppose if I want to write name means first name plus last name. So that is what my data name meaning about. So when I refer to name, I will see first name plus last, it's a mixture of, it's combination of first name and last name. Similarly, if I write some other format, like if I write st_id, that means it is student ID. So these type of information I am storing into the database, so that it becomes easier for the users as well as for the administrators to understand or to write further, develop the programs and the necessary queries. It also allows users to know what data is available, which format it is there, and how it can be obtained. So all such information are all stored in one place, that is stored in the data dictionary. So we can see data dictionary is so important as because it gives such a lot of utility to us. So in a nutshell, we can say the use of data dictionary is quite vast, because it not only helps in storing data, but it also helps database designers, administrators getting useful information. Not only that, the database administrators, they can control also and maintain whenever there is a large database. They not only this part, database admin, that is the DBA or database administrator or programmers, they will develop programs and develop some queries. Now what are queries? Queries is the next thing we'll discuss in the next class probably. Through the query, as because our database is quite large and we want to retrieve data, we will give some particular criteria or particular selection. Based on that criteria, we can retrieve those data which matches the criteria and give it back to the users. So that is called query. Query means question. So that is why database language is known as a 4GL, fourth generation language, because it is a query based language. So they can also write suitable procedures to manipulate this data. With the help of these queries, you can manipulate several data. Like suppose there are plenty of records, I want retrieve only those students who reside in pin code 14. So probably I have 100 students records stored in my database, for example I am telling. So there could be only out of which 15 such students residing in 14. So only instead of searching, the user searching it, the database system will search from all those 100 records, whichever matches the pin code 14, only those records will be retrieved and displayed to the user. So this type of queries can also be done by the database programmers. So we can see how database this data dictionary is useful in a database management system. Next class, I'll be solving or I'll be showing you certain queries and how we can retrieve. I just given you some example, or just I have spoken about some example how we can retrieve query, but that in details we'll speak about with giving some structured querying language options, commands. We will use them and then we'll be discussing more in detail about those queries, how these queries help in retrieving data from the database.